Hey friends, it's Jeff. This is another Mistyping conversation. I'm here with Elliot from the UK. How are you doing, Elliot?
I'm all right, thanks, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm thrilled that you found us. I don't know if other folks overseas feel this, but your opinion is quite highly valued.
Yeah, you've made it. And I'm originally from New Zealand, so there you go. You can say you've gone even further. You've covered all corners of the globe.
Multinational. It's delightful. Well, thank you for joining me. And we're going to get into this. Dear listener, I don't know Elliot yet, so we're just jumping into Mistyping conversation. So we're all going to find out about each other as we go. So tell me some stuff about yourself. How do you normally introduce yourself, and what's important to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, isn't it? I was going to start by just saying I'm just another Kiwi in London. But I've been living, I was born in New Zealand, and I've been living in the UK for the past 10 years. Actually, how I would introduce myself now is I'd say I'm a gay man, I'm a Christian, and I'm many other things.
And are you normally bold like that when introducing yourself?
I mean, I did think about this quite a bit, how I was going to do it in terms of like the preparation for what should I say and what's the best way going to be. I'm getting bolder now, but I think it's helpful to hear from lots of different voices. And if I can bring a little bit of representation, then that's a good thing.
May not sound like the most controversial thing, but why are you a Christian? What is it that draws you to that tradition?
I mean, I just believe the way of Jesus is the best way to live. And so I've been Christian for most of my life. Yeah, it's only really been recent years that I've kind of had to do a bit of deconstruction with my faith and kind of unpack things about what I really believe and just make sense of that. And I think Enneagram really helped me with that too, because before it was so black and white, what's in, what's out, what's right, what's wrong. And when I started looking at Enneagram, I was like, okay, so there's lots of different perspectives. And at the end of the day, it's about finding the one that fits right for you, that complements your faith.
Worked in ministry for a long time. I consistently find that my queer friends who are Christians are, without exception, some of the most faithful people I've met. And it's always just shocking to me of obviously the backlash there, the richness of faith in my gay friends is just always so impressive to me. What do you do for work?
I work in marketing, so I'm a marketing manager for an electric vehicle charging network in Europe. Ooh. So that's pretty cool. Actually get to feel like I'm making a difference to the world as opposed to just doing some job where I make lots of money.
Yeah. Marketing and electric vehicles. Were you pursuing marketing, or were you really interested in electric vehicles in terms of your path into that sort of career?
So I initially pursued advertising because I like the creative side of things. I like coming up with cool ideas and bring them together for a brand or for a business. And I kind of just fell into electric vehicle charging. I love cars. I've always loved cars since I was a child. So it's been a bonus. I've got to drive nice cars along the way.
Yeah, nice. The ability to advertise, I have found as a content creator, is incredibly difficult. Do you find that really natural for you to be able to market yourself or others?
I definitely find it easier to market others. When it comes to myself, there's always a little bit of hesitancy, feeling like I don't want to say something that's not true or blow it out of proportion effectively. But when it comes to brands, when it comes to telling stories, I would say I'm more of a storyteller than I am a marketer. So I'm looking at all the different ways all the different things we want to say as a business and how we can tell the stories that are going to connect people. And that's what's going to move them rather than me coming up with the best words or whatever. Yeah.
Right. And you had mentioned this, but it sounded like you find your work rewarding.
Yeah. I am finding it quite rewarding. I've just gone back to this industry after being in investment management. Feeling a little bit more rewarding than that one.
No knock on investment management there, but I can...
Oh, no, it was a great company. It's just from a marketing perspective, there's not that much you can do, and it's quite established. Yeah. So when you want to try new ideas, push new things, experiment, etc., it's not necessarily the best for that.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that. Talk about creativity and freedom more as just something that you're interested in having.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I really enjoy being creative. I like looking at new ways to do things. Improvement is a word that's come into mind, but I like looking at processes and ideas and thinking about how can we do that in the best possible way. And actually what's a way I can be creative that's going to serve other people as well. And a lot of time when I'm being creative, I might be so I'm a songwriter as well.
Hmm.
That shows up with my writing. So I'm being very vulnerable, but I'm putting it out there because if that's something that's going to help the world, if it's going to resonate with people in some way, I think it's important to do that.
Perfect. Perfect. Aside from work, what keeps you busy? What do you enjoy doing most?
So I like walking. I mean, listening to podcasts, reading a lot. For me, it's all about I never want to stop learning and growing. And I guess that's why I've been drawn to the Enneagram because I don't think I'll ever stop. I'm a bit of a foodie, love food, hang out with friends, and trying to be a bit more active now as well. So I started playing paddle last year, which is similar to pickleball that you have in the States.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
There's a different UK variation of pickleball.
it is this one. I think it came out of Mexico, and it's more like a squash, a cross between tennis and squash.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
enclosed courts, very different to pickleball, but they
Oh,
both seem to be competing for attention at the moment.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Is it
also
is it
Pilates. Oh,
inside
sorry,
or outside?
both. Yeah, you can get inside courts, but outside courts. And I'm supposed to be playing tomorrow, but it's raining here, and I'm not looking forward to that.
That's interesting. Does it have the squash racket that's like 3 feet long and
Uh,
not a ping pong paddle?
it's probably closer in size to a ping pong paddle.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's like a plastic racket rather than with the strings on it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. I was a tennis player when I was young. Have yet to play pickleball, but it's, yeah, as you were saying, like I'm shocked at how many people are like actually building these courts now in my area. So it's I've just never seen anything like that where like a sport just all of a sudden whoop. So
Yeah.
but that's fun. So, but you strike me as a talk about just being a social person. Do you are like you'll be familiar with some of the Enneagram language. I would love to pivot kind of that way. Would you describe yourself as somebody who seeks attention in your social interactions, or are you looking for something else?
I think for me, it's more about what the other person needs in a social sphere. So I love having deep conversations with people. I love, like, there's a part of me that I almost want to say to them, what's keeping you awake at night? And let's talk about that. But obviously, when you've just met people for the first time, you can't, it's not a good idea to go down that route. So you have to have a little bit of small talk and things along those lines. But I love having deep conversations, and I have a very wide social network at the moment. So church has been a big part of that, but
Hmm.
also my Enneagram training circle. There's also a number of meetups that I go to in London that are queer meetups, sorry, LGBT plus meetups, whatever term we want to use there.
Sure.
And there are a lot of people in my life, and I will make an effort to try and catch up with them on a regular basis as well. So gets a bit exhausting at times, but they're my community and I love them. So that's what I'll do.
Perfect. When you go into deep conversations, do you prefer talking about relationships at a deep level, or are you doing different? Do you prefer different types of topics?
So normally it's about whatever I'm interested in at the time, which might be a theory, it might be an article I read the other day. I have been in the world of dating for the past few years.
Hmm.
So I have been consuming a lot of information about that, listening to lots of people. So that naturally comes up, dating and relationships. And I mean, the Enneagram is perfect in that sense of how is this person so different to me? How do they think so differently to me?
Bang. Do you find yourself a very self-critical person?
Yeah, yeah, I think I am. There's the sense of always trying to do what is right. Yeah, I get anxious. I want to make sure that I'm not letting people down, that I'm doing the best job I can. I think I just, I want to do a good job.
Hmm.
That is very important to me. And things like, I was thinking the other day, my my health and my diet are things that I should pay more attention to, but they don't factor on the radar, because I think the social sphere is where I feel it's most important to be investing my energy.
Yeah. Do you find that conflict makes you uncomfortable?
Yes, but yeah, I think less so now. I'm getting better at dealing with conflict, but yeah, I do want people to be generally happy, and it's only when I get particularly passionate about an issue, that, or when it's for the service of others, that I'll stand up and say, actually, I don't think this is the right thing.
Right.
I'll give you an example there,
Yeah, do.
because it's probably a good one. So while I started the podcast by saying I'm a gay man and I'm a Christian, I only came out in 2022. So that's been quite a journey for me. I was married before. I went through a whole kind of deconstruction journey, and I've been a volunteer youth worker for over 15 years. So in and out of church ministry, kind of done all the jobs you can do in a church apart from make coffee. So very familiar in that environment. But in the process of coming out, I wanted to tell the young people. I wanted to say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I believe, this is why I'm doing it. And it was important for me because I was thinking, I don't want them to be in the same position in 20 years' time where they feel that God doesn't love them, or that they have to hide a part of themselves when they're at church or around their friends. So that was a big step for me to do that, particularly because I was anxious that I might lose some of my church community, which is effectively my family. So that, was just made me a little bit anxious.
Yeah. Very well said, and displays a lot of courage. Is it the case that when talking about sexuality, are you more inclined to want to make arguments for your position, or are you more inclined to want to move on as quickly as possible and to minimize the tension, as it were, that comes out of hard discussions?
Yeah, see, this is an interesting one, because I'm just thinking someone is going to judge me whatever way I respond to this question.
We'll talk about not wanting to be judged next.
But I think I would rather go the other end in terms of moving on and not making a big deal of it. For me, my sexuality is part of my identity. It's not my entire identity. And then there's also a piece of, I just think, trying to debate with people, trying to get them to come around to your way of seeing things isn't always going to be that effective. So for me, it's more about, if I live my life well, then people can see, and maybe over time they will change their minds.
Sure. Wonderful. That's well said. Do you find that you have a lot of energy going outward towards people when you meet them, or is it the case that you normally kind of hang back?
Yeah, I would normally hang back, I think. I am a host for some of these social groups, so I will put myself out there and say hello. And also, when I meet new people, especially in church, because I've had that experience many times of being the new person in church, so I will go up and say hello. But it doesn't come naturally to me. It's something I've had to work on.
There you go. That's well said. Got into investment management for a little bit. Are you very aware of what's in your bank account most of the time?
Yes, because I need to be, but I could be a lot more thrifty with how I manage money.
Talk about that.
I just know people who save more, and I'm less likely to. I'm just kind of trying to have a bit more fun in my life at the moment. So, buying clothes I want to buy, or going on more holidays. I think for me, it's more about, I don't want to live with any regrets. So I would rather take the holidays now and then worry about how much I'm saving next year.
Right. Well said. Do you get a chance to go on vacation very often?
Yeah, so I've actually been on 3 or 4 already this year, which is really nice. It hasn't been like that for me the past few years, but because of this job I'm in now, I can travel a lot more regularly. So, I'm enjoying that. Yeah.
Perfect. What's your, like, when you feel real comfortable, secure in your vacations, really enjoying yourself, what do you normally do when?
So for me, travel, I feel like food is such a big part of it.
Oh, sure.
That's part of the way I
Mm-hmm.
experience cultures. So I want
Mm-hmm.
to try lots of different food. I like going on walking tours. Then I also like sitting by a pool and reading a book for the afternoon. So
Mm-hmm.
just switching off, exploring, but not having too much going on.
Right. Bang. Circle back to money for a second. Is being generous difficult for you?
No, no, it is not difficult for me, and I think I struggle more with the other side of it of, oh, I've
Right.
probably given away a little bit too much this month when I should have put it towards my savings.
It's perfect. Well said. Um, do you find that when there's problems in your family, you're more inclined to try and dismiss them, smooth over them? This isn't much of a problem. We don't need to worry about this. Or is it the case that problems in your family are objects that need to be addressed, spoken through? We need to fix this. Would you gravitate toward one of those more than the other?
For this question, I'm going to take family as my church community because my physical family is on the other side of the world and I don't see them that much. But I think I'm probably more prone to action. Yeah, I want to respond to them and make sure that things are smooth rather than just letting go. And actually, there's that line that Suzanne Stabile uses that I've had to come back to time and time again of what's mine to do. Because
Yeah.
there's always so many things I see that, oh, I could do something about it. I should do something about that. And it's the reality of actually that's not for me to do. And if I do that, then that's going to create a whole lot more extra work. And maybe that person will grow on their own. And yeah, just trying to take a step back and say, it's not my job to try and fix everyone.
Yeah. Do you find that you're able to read other people's emotions?
I don't think I'm very good at that. Well, no, I just don't think that's something that comes very naturally to me. Like, I think I can sense how people are around me if they're upset about something or if they are struggling, but I don't think the emotional, yeah, I don't think I have that emotional wavelength in the way that some people I know do.
Yeah. By the end of the year, if you could have one thing happen in your job, could you name it?
I don't think I could at the moment, and that's because I'm 5 weeks into this new job, so I'm not really
Oh, there you
sure exactly what is possible. But like I'm normally pretty good with plans. Like, for example, I basically run the LGBT plus ministry at our church in London, and I'm going to take a step back from that at the end of the year. So I have a full plan for how that's going to happen. I've already spoken to the people in charge saying, just checking they're okay with it. Spoken to my team, looking at trying to get some other people involved to carry that forward, and thinking about the September, October time is when I'll put something out to the wider group saying this is what's going to happen. So I gravitate towards planning, and I think when I've got a plan in place, I feel very comfortable.
Perfectly said. Last question, and then we can pivot. You talked about anxiety for a little bit. Is that anxiety? Do you experience that more as at one point you talked about not wanting to be judged, but is the anxiety in that sphere, or when you experience anxiety, is it about something else?
Yeah, I guess if I can put my finger on it, I think it's more about the impact of the actions. So I've got better at being judged. For example, I've realized that with some people, I'm just not going to be good enough for them. Nothing I do is ever going to be good enough for them. But when it comes to people I care about, I think it's more the impact of the actions. So when I was in the process of coming out, I was concerned about being cut off from that community. I was concerned that I might lose people I loved, or because we disagreed on a small issue.
Bang. All that's very well said. Thank you. Thank you for being vulnerable on all these fronts. That's helpful for me. I'm sure it's helpful for a lot of people who are listening. talk about Enneagram and talk about like some of the places that you land and what connects to you most when you come to the material. And obviously, you connected with us about mistyping. So, where's your mind go?
Yeah, so I think so. My journey with Enneagram, I think, was started over a decade ago. First heard about it in a book. I've always been fascinated by what makes people tick. So Enneagram was just another system for me. But what was interesting was the relationships piece in terms of how two different types relate to each other and the impact and the effect they have. And then at the start of 2022, I started a foundation program for Enneagram training in the UK so I could help other people type. So initially, I went through an interview and was offered types 1 and 3. And then when I went on this foundation program, I heard a panel of fives speaking, and I resonated everything the five said. And then I thought, oh, I must be a five. And then after a few years of thinking that I must be a five, it was through dating that one of my friends pointed out that the frustration that I was experiencing, I just wasn't approaching it much like a five. Like, I care about making the world a better place. And from his perspective, that's not as representative of a five. There was that. And then I spoke to someone last year who typed me as a self-preservation 6. And I think as I've listened to more and more material, I can just see myself reflected in so many different types that there's maybe a little bit of a fog now. And also because I start when I qualified in the typing, I want to have that clarity myself to then be able to offer that to other people saying, I'm pretty confident what I am now.
Yeah.
This is why you can trust me.
We didn't get into it much, but can you, before I respond to that, which all that was golden, can you talk about your experience of frustration?
Yeah. So it took me a while to recognize that I could be a 1 because I didn't think I was an angry person. Frustration, resentment, suppressing anger, like I recognized all of that. But frustration was always the more comfortable word. And actually, I think I'm just constantly frustrated with the world, especially how people relate to each other, like when they're not making way for someone when they're trying to pass them on the street, or when they're saying really cruel things without considering the other person. I think there's just so many ways life could be better, especially if we were willing to kind of consider different opinions and find a happy medium somewhere.
Bang. The things that go through my mind, this is all fantastic. The things that go through my mind is I did see 1, 3, and 5 kind of in some of your responses, so it seems entirely apt for you to kind of have a connection with those elements. I myself, as an Enneagram 1, I connect strongly with 3s and 5s as well, so I know like where that kind of overlap can play out. The thing that pushed me away from 5 ends up being just kind of your open-handedness with your finances, and that wouldn't be very common. And so and the way that you talk about fear and anxiety, the sources of fear and anxiety are things that wouldn't strike me as 5-ish, although all of this is just, based on, we've only been talking for a little bit. On the 3 side, I didn't see a lot of that deep desire for attention and the positioning for accolades in the way that I often hear from 3s, and especially how they talk about their relationships. And so I moved off of that throughout our conversation, to be honest. The thing that has struck me is you have a lot of 1 language that is highly influenced by 9 language. So I don't know if you've looked at 9 as well, but if I were, and this is what I would imagine we'll do, is I would love to bring up some of the 1-9 distinctions. This can be a real common mistyping pairing, but that's kind of what I see. Do you hear anything there?
Yeah. No, I think, 9 for me is one that has never really struck me or made that much sense to me. And I wonder if there is potentially an overlay of, because I've done that work in questioning what I believe already over the past few years, that that I'm just a bit softer in
Sure.
the one sense. And the other thing for me with the 9 is the narcotization, that the defense mechanism. So in the narrative tradition, we talk about narcotization as the defense mechanism. And I'm doing so much that if I was to say to my friends, I think I might be a 9, they're all going to look at me like I'm crazy. And I remember I even had a conversation with my boss at one point in the last job, and I wrote down in my appraisal that, I wish I could stop procrastinating as much. And he was just like, do you procrastinate?
Right.
So he couldn't see it, but I could see it in myself.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the inner critic there.
That's very well said. It's a delight to speak with folks who are already informed on some of the language so that they can do self-evaluation from the beginning on these fronts. I think that's very well said. And but we talked via email about how I type everybody as a 1. And so this is just, dear listener and everyone else, just know that this unfortunately my natural go-to. I can't escape it for some reason, but I don't see any reason not to go down that path. If you thought that one of the other types, you mentioned 6s, if you wanted to pair oneness with something else, I would love to dialogue about that. But if this was the entirety of our conversation, I feel like I would be real confident saying, yeah, I'd sit in 1 with some confidence and see what it does for you, is kind of where I would go. But is there a type that stands opposed to 1 that you're like, I really want to explore this for a minute?
I wonder if it is worth adding the 6 in there, just because I think I've heard that's quite a common mistyping. Yeah. So
with 1 and 6?
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that overlapped for me on this front, I had asked you a little bit about just external energy, meeting others where they're at, and that can be a common place with 1 and 6. Just the fact that you've done a lot of the work and still are kind of hesitant, that may be a 6 quality. It may be the case that you're really secure and able to still be able to see yourself in others, and that may come out of a secure space. The idea of not being good enough, which you mentioned a handful of times, can be both a 1-6 way of being in the world. They can both be systematic at times. And I suppose it's the case, as you've been talking about your church community, the relational element of the 6 really comes out in how you're dialoguing about relationships. So all of that, I think, may be spot on. So anyway, you may be familiar with this. We have a new book, and I have a mistyping chart in front of me just in case this gets on video. And we're just going to walk down that. And this ends up being more of what I've realized with this is a prompt for conversation. The primary for 1s and 6s in terms of distinctions would be that 1s want to be good and 6s often want to be safe. Does language of that sort connect with you?
Yeah, definitely be good.
Right. 1s often want a desire for moral clarity, where 6s often desire reassurances from their community.
The moral clarity. I often say clarity is one of the best things I can have.
Yeah, you want to talk about, so both 1s and 6s are going to be thinking repressed. The desire for clarity is going to be both there, but you're able to say it's the moral, ethical side, not necessarily clarity about something else.
Yeah, because I think for me it's about doing. It's about, I need that information before I make a decision about what I do next.
It's about doing is a huge thing worth saying, that 1s will commonly know that they're feeling well in the world and that things are solid based on what they're achieving. Whereas 6s are going to say something will probably feel good in the world, not based on what they're achieving necessarily, but based on who cares about them and relational stability. And just compassion and care from people validate what they see and are thinking. 1s often lead with focused convictions. 6s can often lead with a collective caution for everybody's welfare.
I could see both of those really.
Perfect. Yeah, when it comes to the queer community you serve, are you hyper aware of the threats they face?
Yeah, I think I'm aware of the threats, but for me, it's more about how I show up within that community.
Yeah.
That's what's more important for me is I can't do anything to protect them from the world, but what kind of space can I create that's going to help them process what they need to process, feel safe, feel comfortable, feel they are part of it, that they're included and they're welcomed, which is something within the queer community that you don't always get that often.
Yep. Especially in a church space. The idea of that you want them to feel comfortable, I think, is a huge line through these. I would be curious if sixes have that as a very high priority. Sixes can be space creators, but I would imagine in creating the spaces, verbally processing all of the details needing to be considered specifically regarding safety would be a primary. Whereas creating a space where people feel comfortable, included, welcome, I assume it's because is it the case that there is something about creating spaces where people's lives can improve, be enjoyed, move forward, that's a high value? Is that correct?
Yeah, very much so. I think I've been saying a lot recently that I want to leave people better than how I found them.
Yeah. Bing. All of this, I would love to land the plane. I think you have every reason to think one is a great place to land Enneagram wise. It seems like you have, with a lot of the folks that I've been interviewing with Mistyping, there's just a lot of life experience. And sometimes the more that we're in this world, adjusting to the world, finding ourselves, oftentimes, we just mature, and a lot of those primal motives, we begin to kind of, smooth them out so that it's not quite as, our shortcomings aren't quite as severe or easy to see. But I think you have every reason I think that one is a great place to land. Is there anything about one that confuses you or that is off-putting or that you want to just talk about?
Yeah, I think part of the reason that I struggle with the one is when I have met other ones and the that rigidity, that strength of what they believe and almost like they're trying to push it on other people, is something I've struggled with. That how they're critical, and maybe it's because I've done more work on myself. Maybe that's part of it. But there's just a part of me that wonders if maybe that's not right for me because I'm not as likely to try and impose my agenda on others.
I think that's well said. There's something about, to use a buzzword, there's something about the privilege of some that they have the leverage to push their agenda on others because they're not going to suffer when they do. And that may not be an option for you in terms of some of the language that you've been using about your experience and the things that really are most important to you. And so I may start in that space. You may have learned real early on that that's not, an option. And that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
I likewise, I feel like I can get rigid, but I wonder if I don't recognize a lot of the, what would you call it? Like the dietary obsession or the cleaning obsession that a lot of ones have. Anything else come to your mind with oneness?
No, not really. The only thing that is, it's not related to the oneness, but there is a part of me that wants to play around with 9 and just see.
We can absolutely go there for a minute. It's been very fast actually, but the things, how 1s and 9s, you had put your thumb on it, navigate conflict, and especially get into their bodies and how much action is produced preference for action versus preference for stasis would probably be the big one there. The big idea for ones, as we've said, being good, moral clarity. For nines, it's going to be being at peace and desiring harmony. Does one of those take precedent over the other? I bet you prefer them both, but is one more important to you?
What was the first one?
For ones, it's being good and desiring moral clarity. But for nines, the nine would be being at peace, desiring harmony, feeling physically comfortable. These are a place to start.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think lately I've more been leaning towards the nine in the sense of when I've done all the things, when I've done everything that's on my list, then I can have that peace and calm, and I want the calm and quiet place.
Perfect. Do you find that you are more inclined to name what is wrong in the moment, or are you more inclined to numb to what's wrong in front of you?
Probably naming what is wrong. I think that maybe there's the sense of numbing of, well, I'm not going to do anything about it now. But yeah, there's that judging helps me to make sense of the world. It helps me to figure out where I stand in relation to others and what my role should be.
Yeah. Do you find that you have, that you confront what needs to change, or are you more inclined to accommodate in order to avoid the conflicts?
Probably more the accommodation. I will confront, but it has to be when I feel it's really important.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that you move with urgency to meet specific moments, goals, or are you more inclined to just drift until things clear up?
Yeah, move with urgency.
Do you feel guilt for not measuring up, or do you feel more discomfort when pressured by others to measure?
Sorry, the second one was discomfort to measure when pressured.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I should just use the book. Feel discomfort when pressured.
What was the first one, sorry?
Feeling guilt for not measuring up.
I mean, I would have said the first one, but then recently I'm feeling that discomfort more when I'm pressured. And sometimes it's like a body reaction of like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have to do this thing, but it's my job and I have to do it. But I'm noticing that more when people come to me and ask me for something, and it's just that reaction.
What you're naming there is going to be common between nines and ones, the just being resistant to others wanting to control you or put pressure on you. So that can transcend both of them. But that's helpful. Your answer is very helpful. Do you fear not doing enough, or would you say you fear being in the way?
No, it's definitely not doing enough. Yeah. If I don't have a plan, if I haven't figured out how I'm going to get somewhere, that's going to stress me out.
Mm-hmm.
Or make me feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that you act in order to feel better, or do you withdraw to feel better?
I think that one depends.
Yep. Good. Go ahead.
Yeah, it just depends on if I've had too much social interaction, or if I feel like I haven't really got what I need from the interactions I've had with people that day. Mm-hmm. I need to withdraw. But a lot of the time when I know there's something I can do about the current state I'm in, then I will act.
That's well said. There's something about withdrawing after action that really matters. For nines, it can often be the case that withdraw is the first move. For ones, if action isn't working to get what you want, it can be the case that move into four space is kind of a real off ramp for us, and that's withdrawn space as well. So you're saying that well, but Do you seek excellence in your work, or do you seek ease in your work?
Definitely excellence.
Right. You move to fix what's broken, or do you wait to see if things resolve?
Yeah, it's the first one, but I think I'm getting to that place as well of waiting and seeing.
Yeah. Candid opinion just about like how I'm hearing most of your answers. You strike me as a very well balanced person. Your secure spaces, you're moving into vacations, you're moving into the travel and enjoyment of food. These all strike me as like a very healthy way of experiencing your security number and sevenness if you're a one. It's also the case that you do have a lot of language that comes out from when you've had to wrestle with your identity, when you've had to wrestle with rejection from your family or church, that the pivot towards looking inward and reminding yourself who you are, very high foresight kind of language there. So on both those fronts, like you strike me as somebody who just pivots towards elevating in on the arrows. The nine language that you've employed just shows that you just got a solid kind of wing there in terms of pushing into nine space. But I asked you a handful of questions about two as well as we were going because you have some language there. So what I see in a lot of your language is that you have just built up the muscles to adjust and use tools from those four places as you're going through the world. They're not primary, but they are tools. So your oneness of wanting to improve the world, wanting to execute, finding a lot of value and getting things done, all of those strike me as like that's what you look like when you're balanced and centered. And yet in order to engage those to execute well and improve the world, you're really using some of these other tools, and you're finding, healthy, what strike me as very healthy spaces of rest, and both in 4 space and 7 space. And that just, again, I just want to say that just strikes me as far as I can know you in a 40-minute discussion, that just strikes me as very healthy ways of being a one in the world. So that's what I see.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's great to hear the feedback. Yeah.
Next, I've been trying to land the plane with some like next steps, and this is something that I need to actually work on. This is going to be some of the work that we're doing coming up. But for me, and like in terms of your journey, stuff that I would recommend would be just making sure that you kind of name and understand the low side. One, the things that we avoid, the fears that we have, really having an awareness of your own anger as it goes inward, what that displays, and how you can name it in the moment and work through it in healthy ways that aren't self-destructive. For one's, oftentimes the like growing ends up being some of the language that you really used already is just having a real awareness of the perspectives of others and valuing them and not moving into that rigidity. That's a point of excess that can be unhealthy. Being able to go to your high side of 4 is a place of growth where like really taking time to name your emotions and name how you're feeling, what your identity is, what's yours to do. All of those are very, very helpful and as steps. But getting to journal, write things out, get your thinking on paper, really engaging your thinking habitually is a great move for one's really finding ways to think about things constructively and productively are some of the things that come to my mind. And then just lastly, and this kind of goes for everybody, is just finding a friend or 2 or 3 that you talk Enneagram with. And like the more that you can kind of make this part of your vocabulary and see how they come to the world and see how different it is from how you come to the world, that actually can be incredibly helpful towards your own growth. Of all things, is seeing how other people struggle, move, talk about their inner life, because it shows how you're different, and it kind of can expose some of the little nuances. But those are the things that kind of come to my mind. Got last thoughts? Any last questions on oneness?
No questions. I just, when you were talking about the move to 4, I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, but because I'm a songwriter, that helps me get to my feelings. That helps me make sense of things and then move into action. So for me, the musical side of things, writing has been a really helpful thing in that sense, and just having that creative outlet. Kind of gone full circle now, haven't we? Because we started out talking about creativity. So yeah,
it's well said. That's really well said, and that's spot on. Finding those spaces, I really connect most in 4 space with music as well, and that ends up pulling forth kind of a melancholic side for me, but it's a restorative space for me as well, and so it's well worth naming. I hate to say it, the audio went out on me again, but this is a good place to land the plane. So as I sign off, it's been a delight meeting you. It's been a delight connecting. We are hoping to do more that connects with our European audience in terms of just creating workshops that are more, based around time frames that folks overseas can engage us. So just be on the lookout for that. But I'm looking forward to connecting to you in the future, and I'm very glad that you reached out to us. So cheering for you, cheering for your new job, cheering for all of your work with your church as you're transitioning there. And again, just very grateful. So
thanks very much.